and it does spell like it spells trouble for Toyota. It smells like trouble. It looks like trouble, and it's going to affect probably pretty much everyone, every manufacturer that is under the Toyota umbrella. And that's because Daihatsu, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and I don't mean to offend anyone. I think it's so important to be as kind as possible to one another. We're all going through our own lives and our own difficulties, our own issues, and we all just want to be happy and be able to take care of our families. So don't take it the wrong way. Doing the best I can here. Daihatsu has a lot of, there's so many vehicles affected by this. Thousands, tens of thousands of vehicles affected by this. And it is a safety scandal. So there's a safety recall, and it's a scandal because there was some wrongdoing, some cheating of tests. It's I'm not going to say who didn't cheat in school, because yes, a lot of people didn't cheat in school. Let's not just assume everyone cheats. And when it comes to safety, you definitely should not cheat people out of safety. Don't give them the idea that they're going to get a safe vehicle. Ha! And Peugeot, that's a good one. Did Toyota with Stellantis, did they perform coitus with Stellantis? Well, you'd almost think that maybe Daihatsu is their love child, and Daihatsu is now causing problems for Toyota. Because a lot of Toyotas are going to be affected by this. So what's the story here? Beyond just stocks slumping at Toyota because of this, a 4% drop here. 1.6%, 4% drop, which you'd think it would have dropped by more, but I guess not. Oddly, media and journalists didn't talk to no end about this story. It kind of just went in under the radar. Not like the Toyota in 2010 when they had their brake failure issue. That got talked about quite a bit. Every media source covered it, and at first, if I recall correctly, Toyota was like, no, it's nothing wrong. It must be like people's carpets catching, like rubber carpets and plastic carpets catching with the brake pedal, and then like, oh, it's us. We're going to work this out. So sorry. And they did a really good job of working it out. But will they do such a good job this time? Well, I don't know. It's going to affect the recall is going to affect 1.1 million vehicles. So if you're a current owner, let's hope this isn't like the famous airbag recall that affected so many manufacturers. Because yes, those airbags were dangerous. Someone in their family actually had a piece of, when the airbag went off, they had a piece of metal shoot through their shoulder, removing mobility. So Joshua Rittenhouse, Johnny, you could just say Toyota and Stellantis bumped uglies. Yes, that would get the point across. They might have bumped uglies because, well, Toyota trusted Daihatsu to get them quality parts, or let's assume. We can't assume that anyone gave the order to not to cheat safety standards, but essentially parts were put in vehicles for when they were tested for safety, and the vehicles passed the crash tests, but then the vehicles that were delivered weren't delivered with the parts that the vehicle model got tested with. So it's a way to get put in great parts, test, get a good score. But, just like someone that cheated on a high school exam, ask them a question that was on the exam the next day, and they're like, they've got no idea what they're talking about. They're lost. Well, some of these owners are going to be lost, you could say. It's going to affect almost 24 models that are sold under Toyota's brand. So 64 models total. So Daihatsu makes parts for Toyota, as well as those companies under Toyota's brand. So other Japanese car makers, manufacturers are going to be affected. 64 models so far are known to get affected. 24 of those that are sold under Toyota's brand. And it was a rigged side collision safety test carried out for 88,000 small cars. So we'll see if also this grows into more of a story. Will it go into not just their small cars, but will it affect their SUVs? Will it affect their trucks? Daihatsu had responded on this, and they don't know when they're going to be able to resume shipment of certain parts and models. So that's going to also going to affect the total production coming out of Toyota. Toyota's earnings. It's going to likely be on their earnings a limited impact because, well, Daihatsu is going to be responsible for this problem. There's a 1-month suspension of production, which would equal 120,000 vehicles and translate to a revenue reduction of 240 billion yen, so $1.68 billion in losses for Toyota because they'll get about 120,000 less vehicles produced. Now, the company's supply chain in Japan consists of 8,316 companies, according to Reuters. And this is going to affect quite a few. So I'd love to know more. Daihatsu's stock plunged by 10%, so much more than the 4% that Toyota had their stock drop. But if you're not a stockholder, you probably don't care about that. What you care about is knowing, is your vehicle safe? And this is where it's going to affect future sales. Depending on how many people recall or hear of this story as a potential Toyota buyer, are you going to be, are you going to kind of pump the brakes and say, I don't know, they're cheating safety tests. They're putting safe, good quality parts for the crash test, but that's not what they're delivering. Do I want to still do business with a company that does this? Now, I'm surprised. I bet if this was Ford, every journalist would have, made this, the stories about this wouldn't have ended, and it would have gone on for weeks and weeks and weeks. But it's Toyota, and Toyota has such a loyal fan base. They probably don't want to even hear about this. When you're a mega fan, unfortunately, of anything, an individual, a company, you like to think that everything is just all roses, and you don't want to hear data that conflicts with your opinion that you've created. Because unfortunately, sometimes people will sort of build it into their personality. They're like, I'm a Toyota guy, or I'm this politician supporter. And then if they hear contrary information, instead of listening to it and reevaluating, they're just like, nope, not possible. And it's wild. You see these videos, they always make me laugh. You can see them, videos who are kind of have blind faith for Trump or blind faith for Biden. I think it's even wilder to, at this point, still have blind faith in Biden with what's going on with the economy, with all the money printing, with what's going on with the wars. Remember, generally the best presidents ever were the ones that did everything to fight the military complex so that there wouldn't be wars. Remember JFK fought and did everything he could to not have a war with Cuba because 150,000 soldiers would have been, American soldiers had been, it was pretty much certain by the military officers, strategists, that they would lose over 100,000 soldiers in the first 5 minutes of the war as they arrived on the beach of Cuba. Kennedy was like, no, I don't want that. He pulled troops out of Vietnam, and 30 days later he was assassinated, and quickly after, the new president had troops right back in Vietnam. So it's always good to have an open mind and be willing to, not build something into your personality so that you refuse to hear outside data and facts because it hurts your own self-image. We're our own individuals. Let's be have our self-image. Randy, thank you for the comment. I am having a huge amount of problems with really any politician that's currently printing money, spending money like an alcoholic drops the bottles. And it's, if you paid for that alcohol and it's your own alcohol, it's not nearly as bad as when you're spending other people's money. And it's also wild to see all this money get spent. But that's, this is a rant topic. What is important is, even if you're a diehard Toyota fan, just take this into consideration. There is the brake scandal. Now there's a scandal in regards to safety tests. Just let this story develop. And if you find out that it affects a model, the bigger models, like let's say you love Toyota RAV4s or Toyota Corollas, or, if you see that it affects your model, then maybe consider looking at other options and shopping other models from other automobile companies. So Toyota has said, and I like this, they're going to recall 1.12 million vehicles worldwide. They're not trying to fight this. They're not trying to say, you know, oh no, it didn't affect any of our vehicles. No, Toyota's going to recall 1.12 million vehicles worldwide, mainly in the United States. And obviously, mainly in the United States means also Canada. Kind of the boat comes over to us. So let's keep that in mind when we're shopping. There's also, they need to fix a faulty sensor that could cause airbags to not deploy as designed. The Ford Maverick, no one's perfect. The Ford Maverick had an issue with its airbags too. They're overinflating by, if I recall, I think it was an eighth of a millimeter. And there was a recall for that. And then journalists are like, look at how many people were affected by recalls at Ford this year. The reason for the recall is so important. And here, you've got the reason for a recall being deliberate scandal. Deliberate swapping of parts to pass tests with higher cost parts and then swapping them out. One result is airbags potentially not deploying. That is pretty dishonest in my opinion. And if you're if you're a diehard Toyota fan and you've got it tattooed and you're not willing to because you've basically brought it into your identity, please don't. Please just look at the fact that Toyota isn't perfect. And I have trouble sometimes owning a Toyota because there's diehard fans out there that are like, no, Toyota's the best and they're so much better than everyone else. And if someone tries to, talk any facts to me, they're up in arms, they're ready to fight. It turns me off to the brand. I'm not brands that have like a huge diehard, unrealistic, non-critical thinking, illogical fan base. It's like, I don't want to be associated with that. It's just a huge turnoff. Maybe part of the reason why politically I'll always kind of be, in the middle. If you got the bell notification turned on and you don't like one of the videos I put out because, you're a diehard Biden fan and you're like, how could someone ever say anything against Biden? He's never started, he hasn't been involved in any wars and he saved the economy because it was so good before, it was so bad before he became president and he's made the economy so much better and, whatnot. If that's your thought process and it's going to offend you to watch a video I've made, well, Jeremy Clarkson said it really well. Jeremy Clarkson, I believe it was Jeremy Clarkson, someone said, getting offended by what you found on the internet is like choosing to step in dog crap and then getting really upset about it. But you knew it was there, you saw it coming, but you went and stepped or clicked on it just the same. Well, yeah, I'm a human being. I don't need everyone to agree. And actually, it's great if you don't agree with me. Tell me why with, facts and data ideally. And I'll probably be like, wow, this is incredible. I wish I would have thought of this on my own. And I'll almost certainly thank you. I'll be like, thank you so much for, pointing out whatever viewpoint you're trying to point out. And Canada and the US are very much entwined. I sometimes see us as a vassal state of the United States. We follow you guys into war. And Peugeot, thank you so much for the rant money. Very, very kind of you. And we will get, if I have time, I'll do a proper rant at the end because I've got material that it's not time sensitive, but it'll be fantastic when I come out with it for those that do like the rant. Now, that fully concludes the episode on the Toyota scandal. Please don't forget, hit that thumbs up, share this. Bronco fans, don't get offended. No, they're tough, even though their vehicle doesn't shake them up and force them to be tough as if they're driving an older model Jeep. And until Jeep gets the independent front suspension, it'll have its pros and cons, but getting shook up is just part of the process when you have a straight axle in the front. And people that want to deny that, they're just not being realistic.